Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Rouse, and tonight we're going to be going over some drama terms, things you need to know as we go through Hamlet. There are some dramatic elements that you'll be seeing in Hamlet, some that you've already seen, and we will be stopping occasionally and reviewing these as we go. We will also be going back into the text and looking for these elements after we're finished our first read of Hamlet. Okay, so what we're going to cover tonight, we're going to be reviewing theme. I hope you remember what theme is. We're going to talk about what a drama is, what dramatic monologue is, what a soliloquy is, what an aside is, dramatic irony, and character foil. Okay, so we're going to start off with theme. Why don't you pause this, think about it for a second, and remind yourself what theme is, and then check and see if you are correct. All right. All right, so here we are, theme. This should be review. Did you come up with the fact that the theme is a main idea of a story or the message the author is conveying? I hope so, because that means you are right on with your theme. The message is usually about life, society, or human nature. Okay, really important that you grasp what a theme is. It's different than a big idea. It's not a single word. It is a complete sentence that gives us the message or a lesson that the author is trying to teach us about a specific topic or idea. All right, so then what is a drama? Well, this is pretty easy. It's another word for a play. It's when characters tell a story in a theatrical performance. Oh, by the way, if you didn't realize you should be taking notes right now, please know that you should be taking notes on all of these terms. You will be responsible for knowing them and understanding them as we go through the play. All right, so dramatic monologue. A dramatic monologue is something we can see in a text, like a poem, as well as something that we can read in a play, such as Hamlet. Okay, so a dramatic monologue is in a poem. It's a poem in which an imagined speaker addresses a silent listener, and it's usually not directed toward the reader. Examples of a dramatic monologue would be Robert Browning's My Last Duchess, T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which we'll be reading later in the year, and I's Killing Floor as well. There are many, many other examples of dramatic monologue in poem. Dramatic monologues are poems or speeches that could be acted out on stage or performed. Okay? So dramatic monologue. Dramatic says that it could be acted out as in the form of a drama, while monologue defines it as a speech that one person makes to one or more people who remain silent. A dramatic monologue is written to reveal both the situation at hand and the character of the speaker. So that's the purpose of a dramatic monologue. The purpose of a dramatic monologue is to reveal the situation, what's going on in the poem or the text, but also to reveal the character of the person who's speaking. And we've seen several of these in Hamlet already, and the example that I'm going to put up here for you is from Hamlet Act 1, Scene 2, and this is with Claudius. Okay, when we first meet Claudius, Claudius is giving us a dramatic monologue, and we know that because if you notice at the top here, I don't know if I can write on this. Oh, look. This is my first time with this website, so I'm learning. Okay, it's not a great circle, but there you go. Up here you can see that in this scene, Claudius enters along with Queen Gertrude, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and attendants. So Claudius is not alone on stage. There are other people on stage when he gives this speech. And so this is an example of dramatic monologue. Claudius welcomes his guests and gives this speech about his brother's death and his new marriage to Queen Gertrude, and everybody else is just listening and silent. Okay, so that's an example of a dramatic monologue. Moving on, the next one we're going to talk about is soliloquy. Soliloquy, right from the beginning up here, S-O-L, okay, you can kind of get the idea of solo, so this is one way it differs from a dramatic monologue. The word soliloquy is derived or comes from Latin, meaning the word solo, or from the Latin word solo, which means to himself, and loquor, which means I speak. In a soliloquy, the character or speaker speaks to himself or herself while he or she is alone on stage, or at least believes they are alone on stage. Okay? Dramatic monologue, the character is not alone on stage. Others are listening, but in a soliloquy, it is meant to be done while the character is alone on stage, and the whole point of a soliloquy is to reveal to us the nature of the character, or what's happening with the character, what the character is feeling. And this is a way that dramatists had of doing this so that the audience had a better idea of what was going on in the character's mind. Okay. Prince Hamlet gives several soliloquies in the play, and these occur in almost all the acts of the play, acts 1, 2, 3. In fact, Act 3 has 3 different soliloquies, and then we have the final soliloquy in Act 4, Scene 4. Okay, so what you have up here on the screen is an example of the soliloquy from Act 1, Scene 2, and my pen is no longer working, trying to get it to work. Pen, there we go. Okay. Oh, so I could just do that. Okay, so Act 1, Scene 2, and this is just a short little excerpt. It's not the entire soliloquy, but this is when Hamlet is alone on stage, as he would be on stage if we were seeing the play, and Hamlet is just really thinking about suicide. And he talks about, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew. So Shakespeare included this soliloquy so that the audience could have a good idea of what Hamlet was feeling during this part of the play. Soliloquies in Hamlet are essential in really understanding the depth of Hamlet's despair. And this first soliloquy definitely shows us that. Okay. Now, an aside is another dramatic element. And here we also have conversation going on stage, but this has a different purpose. This is a short comment or speech, short dialogue, that a character delivers sometimes directly to the audience or to another character or a group of characters on stage, or sometimes just to himself, while other actors are on stage and are not supposed to hear or see this taking place. Only the audience is supposed to realize that the character is expressing speech, okay, or ideas, and directly to them. Okay? So that's what an aside is. Kind of think of it as a character on stage turning aside to the audience and sharing something with us, or turning aside to another character and having a private conversation that only the audience is supposed to hear. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is the foil character. Okay, so a foil is a person who is paired with another character to develop the latter's traits and personalities by contrast. Okay, in other words, the foil character is like the mirror twin of another character in the story or in the play. Okay, a foil is much like, the screen says, the twin character in class, in rank, and in background, but has opposing or opposite characteristics that allow us to really see the characteristics or personality of the original or first character. Okay, now on here, I don't know if this is going to work. If it does, it would take us to another link that would let you watch a short little clip. I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work. And let's see, go back here. I might try to click it again. All right, so that's not going to work. Oh, look at that. I think it is going to work for us.
Let's suppose that you're writing a really important email to a colleague.
We have to skip the ad. Skip the ad.
We speak student.
What is a foil? A la Schmook. There are dozens of roles for a fictional character to fit into. Some of them can be pretty easy to spot. The protagonist and antagonist are often the hero and the villain, for example. And the sidekick is the one who never gets any of the glory. Thank you, Robin. But others are more difficult to spot, and not because they insist on wearing camo all the time. One of the most ambiguous literary roles is the foil. How do you identify the foil in a novel? If the Summer Olympics are coming up, a foil is the little bending device people poke their combatants with while wearing colanders on their faces. Or it's something you wrap your baked potato in. Or it's a math method for multiplication, meaning first, outside, inside, last. Well, we have a guide on that one too. But we're focused on literature, where a foil is a character whose main purpose is to offer a contrast to another character, usually the protagonist. Foils set off and accentuate the main character and are convenient ways to complicate and deepen the characterization of the protagonist. They're more like complementary colors than total opposites. Foils are the white spaces to the protagonist's pen and ink drawing, the blush to their cheekbones, the frosting to their cupcake. Basically, everything the foil is, the protagonist is not. The foil's differences highlight the key qualities of the main character. Sure, it can be as simple as protagonist versus antagonist. Voldemort's villainy and selfishness reminds us how good Harry Potter is, and how much he values his friends. A foil is any character who makes the traits of another stand out in sharp contrast. For instance, a character's best friend can be a foil if she's always volunteering time at a charity and giving sandwiches and blankets to homeless people, reminding us that, despite saving that turtle from a burning house, our protagonist is actually pretty darn selfish. There can be multiple foils in a novel as well. In Romeo and Juliet, Romeo's first love, Rosaline, is a foil to Juliet, and Juliet's other suitor, Paris, is a foil to Romeo. Finally, a character can even foil himself. In Return of the King, Frodo can be his own worst enemy, and his bad side makes his good side even, gooder by comparison. So, a foil isn't just a handy sun-tanning aid. It's a way for an author to make their characters even deeper. So when you're hunting for the foil, remember the following. The foil is often the person who enhances the protagonist's attributes, but the foil isn't necessarily the antagonist. It could be a friend or a rival. And supporting characters might have foils too. Score 1 for the little guys.
Okay. Well. Okay, guys, I'm not quite sure what happened there. I seem to have lost my screen, so give me a moment. And here we are back with foil character. I don't know if the video worked. It worked for me. Hopefully it worked for you. I won't know until I view the video myself after I'm done recording. If it did work, then it was pretty silly and comical, but I hope you got a little bit more understanding of what a character foil is. All right, we're almost done here. I think one of the last ones we're going to talk about is irony. Now, irony, as we know, is a literary device used for conveying meaning by saying the exact opposite of what is really meant, kind of like sarcasm. Sarcasm is a kind of irony. It's praise that's really an insult. Okay? All right, so dramatic irony is what we're going to focus on for today. And dramatic irony occurs in a piece of literature when the audience knows something that some of the characters in the narrative do not. The spectator of a play or reader of a novel or poem thus has information that at least some of the characters are unaware of, which affects the way the audience members react to the plot. For example, the reader might be aware that a certain trap has been set and feel suspense when an unknowing character is about to walk into this trap, like all the horror movies we see. The tension of the piece, therefore, depends on the contrast between what the audience knows and what the characters know. And this happens a lot in Hamlet. There's a lot of dramatic irony. For example, we know that Hamlet is pretending to be insane, but the other characters do not know this. All right, so that ends our literary elements for today. I hope you took some really good notes. I'll see you in class.